something.
Yeah, Bay Parkway. Let's see what station here. Yeah, Bay Parkway.
It's not legible. I don't think you can get it. Can you get it? Yeah, here. Get the date.
I'll get it just a minute.
Hanging in. Taking you a long time.
Excuse
Okay. It's like a witch hunt only for Tannenvogels. Where's the mother? Show me the one where it says Langer. Point it out for me.
Right here. Committee. Louis Langer. Fourth one down.
Look at that, Louis Langer. Louis or Lowe? That's Louis.
Louis, Louis. She was born Hannibal. Niece is in French. N-E-E.
Yeah. This is the must have been the names on the groups.
Yeah. Well,
Right?
this was from another group. The
And there's
president
M.
was
Cannibal.
Gargle.
Gargle?
I guess so. And this is the committee. Oh, he was on
He was
the
a treasure. Figures that Cannibal would be a treasure. And,
The conductor was Cohen.
yeah, what do you mean was a conductor? What does that mean?
I don't know. Conductor of the cemetery.
Coming up now to a section of the cemetery that has memory of Louis Cannibal, a beloved husband and dear father, died January 10th, 1936 at the age of 34. Here's folks. Now here's some other stuff which we don't really know about. I don't know if anybody can read the Hebrew. Died February 19th, 1948, age 80. enshrined in our hearts. Now here's the kicker. There is a Langer, a knee Cannavogel, that apparently was married, I guess, to Langer, which is on the society wall. Let's see if I can get that. Somebody can read Hebrew. And this thing says, by the way, I actually, hold on, and doesn't mind. I have to just stand on their head or foot. I hope somebody can read this. Look at that. New Cannibal. Unfortunately, Lewis, has been knocked off of his place. And the father of the 5 boys and the 1 girl, right there?
I assume so.
Well, yeah, okay.
Presumably because it's on Herman's 1896. When was he? 1863. And
Yeah.
died in 1907.
Right. Well, how did you know that? I mean, you can see that? It says, in memory of our beloved mother, Lottie Cannavogel, October 28th, 1863, died, looks like February 27th, 1907.
I don't know whether it's February.
Rest in peace.
That's all it says?
Well, it says some Hebrew
It's
here.
in Hebrew, but forget it. You can read it.
You know what, Dad? I can't read it this way, but I can. Well, that could be Did I say February 27th,
Yeah.
1907?
That's what it said.
I don't know, maybe I can get something with the camera read since you can't on that. Who knows?
So there you go, Dad. What do you think of that? Isn't this morbid? We're taking pictures in the cemetery.
Biting my nails.
You know,
What? There was it on the side too?
no, the stone is right there.
Where?
In here.
Right
But you
there.
can't go into here though.
No, the
Where?
stone
Let
is
me see.
right to the right of that big archway.
Yeah.
That's where you came in, that
Oh,
entrance
yes,
right there.
yes. See? Uh-huh. I told you.
Okay, we're here, and it's December 8th, 1990, and we're here at Arthur Canavogel's house, and we're interviewing Lorraine Helfont and Arthur Canavogel for the family tree.
Right.
Okay.
Posterity.
Posterity. First question I'm going to ask is, and I guess, Aunt Lorraine, you're going to have to, because I know you told me briefly at Thanksgiving, who is Rebecca Merlin, and how do we know Rebecca Merlin? First of all, who is she, and how do we know of her?
Rebecca Merlin. Yes.
Go ahead.
If I understood it correctly, if you remember, you heard all the stories about our going out to Coney Island to visit Aunt Rose. Maybe her name was Rose, but she was
Uncle was on your
It was
mother's
my,
side.
it was
Oh,
on my
it was on
mother's
your
side.
side,
It was
okay.
my grandmother's relative.
So where were you two? I mean, you
wait a
don't have any...
He had
Was he-
nothing.
Was
had
he
nothing-
too young?
He was.
Well, you're not that far apart in age.
I know, sweetie, but I had a very unusual relationship with my grandmother. She allowed me to brush her hair every single night before she went to bed.
Now, you know how I remember Uncle Butler? He used to come and visit, and when he gave each one of us $1, in those days, that was a lot of money.
That was
But
a
each
lot.
one of us got
Like
$1 every time he came to visit.
That's right. And they spoke Yiddish together. They never spoke English when Uncle Muttle was around. And the thing that I always remember about the house, I don't know whether it was 114th or 116th or 3rd, because we didn't have to walk too far. When you walked up the stoop, there was like 6 steps. There were these beautiful brass, you know how some stoops have brass railings?
Yeah.
And it was always highly polished. I never could get over that. Now, I used to hear stories about there were houses, apartments in Harlem where there were no toilets and you would have to go out into the hall. I don't know anything about that. But finally, I went with my grandmother on those trips quite a lot of times. Yet, if I think back, probably each trip, each way was more than 2 hours. You took a bus, you took a jitney from Park Avenue and 10th Street down to the hill. I don't remember what it was called down there, do you? And then you waited for the ferry. You went across by ferry. Then you got on this trolley car, which went across 42nd Street to 3rd Avenue. Then you got off that one and got on another one. Now, my grandmother went to visit cousins called May and Bertha. Do you remember that also? You don't remember Bertha married to Vincent Giaccone?
Giaccone, yeah,
Yes.
those I remember.
But as
How were they related to Butler?
they were cousins.
Oh.
They were all part of being cousins. And so I would go with her to Harlem. And the one thing that I remember was that when Uncle Muttle died, I went there with my grandmother, and there was one woman screaming and yelling and crying. She was a professional weeper.
Oh, yes.
I never knew that
Yes.
before.
We went to
It
cemetery.
wasn't until years later that I found out that she was a professional weeper. My mother kept in touch with May Merlin, but I don't know what May's marriage name was. I don't remember that. Betty was Giaccone. Betty Giaccone.
Betty.
Was Vincent and
Yes,
Betty?
but
Vincent.
Betty Giaccone, a sister of Merlin's, had married and either separated or something, but she no longer had a husband. He didn't die. Either he left her or something. She must have been divorced because eventually she married Vincent Giaccone, who was Italian,
But she had a son
and she
by
had
the
a
first.
son by the first husband, and Vincent brought him up. I do not remember his first name, but one time I knew it very well. But that is the connection with Merlin. And in Coney Island, all of those people, I don't know how Rose or Rebecca Merlin, I could find out about that. I can call May.
Yeah, how you gonna find her now?
He works for Castro.
Oh, that's Schwam.
Schwam. I could call him and he could tell me.
All right,
Martha,
before
do you have
do that-
anything for the throat?
Before you
Yeah,
do
all right.
that,
What?
Please.
tell Richie the relationship of her brother, Jack.
Okay, hold on 1 second though. I just want to make sure that I'm getting sound,
Martha,
okay?
you have
Who's-
a...
Had a brother, and his name was Jack Sachs, and I don't know why I feel that he graduated from high school, which was very unusual in those days, and he always had a very technical mind. Not so much that he could work with his my mother's cousins who were Merlin. There were two sisters, Anne, Anne Merlin. No, Anne Merlin was the offspring. Rose or Rebecca Merlin was the mother, and Anne Merlin was her stepdaughter, and May Merlin was her daughter who was born in the United States. That was the maiden name for all the people who lived in Coney Island, as I know the story.
Okay, I'm going to show you this.
Wait a minute, Richard. Is that the equivalent of Anna Lazarus and...
Anna Lazarus, Merlin was Anna's maiden name.
Yeah.
Her marriage name was
and her
Lazarus.
sister was
Schwam.
Schwam.
That was her
That's a marriage name.
marriage name.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Now we
lived
got
in
that
Coney
down.
Island?
Then, there were other Merlins. There was Abe Merlin, Nanny Merlin, and Helen Merlin.
And now,
And Al Merlin. Four. They are cousins on my mother's side.
Okay. I'm going to show you this certificate of marriage. You have your glasses?
Yeah.
Go get your glasses.
What does it
Where
say?
is your
Just tell
glasses?
us what it says.
Well, it says this is the certificate of record of marriage for Samuel and May Cannavova. Okay? It says
Samuel and
May.
Sigmund.
Sigmund. Okay. All right, go
Sigmund
ahead.
and May Cannavova. Okay? Who obviously resided at 1415 Fulton Street. Or Fulton Avenue, I guess.
Right.
Okay.
My mother's maiden name was Sachs.
Okay. It says here that on the side, on the half of the certificate of the bride's residence and her
Yes.
family background,
Yes.
it says the birthplace of her was Russia. It says her father's name, according to this, is Frank, and her mother's maiden name is Rebecca Merlin.
Rebecca Merlin.
Well, it
Is it?
could. Yes, it could be that my grandmother's name was Rebecca Merlin.
Merlin,
She
right.
would be part of that whole clan, because as they were coming over, my mother went to. There were pictures in a box somewhere that Leon had. My mother would go to Ellis Island to bring them in. We have pictures of my mother with the big hat, the high shoes, and the very long coat, taking two girls.
I wish I could see
and who's
that.
got those pictures?
I wish I could
We're
see
in a
They
box
were not
in-
in Leon's house. No way. I got everything from Leon's house. I got none of those pictures.
No.
Well, wait, Jonathan said he had
Jonathan
all this
may
stuff.
have it.
He
We
got
had.
it from his mother.
Yeah,
His
but I
mother may
know,
have had
maybe
the pictures
but
when
he
she
had
was
all
trying
that.
to research the
It
trade.
could be
That's what
that
I'm
she
saying.
had those.
She had all
I didn't
that
know.
information.
I didn't know.
Leon
Just
didn't have it.
go over that bit slowly
Again.
about how your mother used to go to Ellis Island.
My mother went to. There are several pictures of girls in high button shoes with very long coats and those big black hats that look like Schreimels or whatever it is
Yeah.
that the Hasidim wear. My mother picked them up at Ellis Island and brought them here. I don't know the stories of where they went and who took them in, but I told you there was this whole thing where I would go with my grandmother from West New York, New Jersey. We would take the jitney down to when we lived in West New York, we would take the jitney down to the water,
The ferry.
take ferry, take a trolley car from 12th Ave, which was really 12th Avenue and 42nd Street, across to 3rd, and get on another trolley car that went up 3rd Avenue, under the 3rd Avenue L, and we would go to Harlem, somewhere about 114th to 116th Street. And I was not permitted to speak what little Yiddish I knew to my grandmother. I had to speak English to her. She wouldn't allow it.
Did
I
you
know
go
my
with
It's all news to me. I know nothing about
I
what
went-
she's saying.
Any
you-
time my
in
grandmother...
other words, you didn't go on these trips?
No.
Where were you?
No, because my grandmother went to Harlem to visit Uncle Muttle. I never knew that in English, the translation of Muttle, like Muttle the tailor and fiddler,
Yeah.
is Max.
It's
Max Merlin.
Wait.
I
Oh,
do
Max Merlin,
remember
okay.
Muttles. He was married 1,000
It couldn't have been you
times.
going.
But he could work eventually became what's known as a time saver, like an efficiency
Fishing expert.
expert. And he was the one that introduced IVM, the the various machines, the key punch and the verify and all the other things. He introduced that to Fruhow. That was his first assignment. I don't know how he learned about these things, but he installed that kind of an operation, time-saving features of IBM in the simplest forms. And
Not to interrupt you, was he an older brother or a younger brother?
he was younger than my mother,
He was younger.
and he didn't marry until he was 55, and he married his secretary.
Okay,
That
so,
was Betty.
all
Right. And they have a son whose name is Robert,
Robert Sachs.
Yeah.
Okay.
who's still alive as far as I know.
Robert Sachs.
Yes, and
So is she, as far as I know.
yeah, because
Mother?
yes, I should try to call them. Robert
Is she in Philadelphia?
in Philadelphia. Robert Sachs was a very, very nice man. Very nice man. And he died. Jack Sachs died 2 weeks before his son's 13th.
Yes, I remember we went out.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see, we asked about grandma's relatives. Okay.
That's all I knew of my grandmother's relatives, Merlin.
Okay. I'll ask you a question that's going to be out of order.
Okay.
As far as religion goes, how religious was your mother and father? And do you recall them talking about how religious their parents were?
Now,
Never.
they never spoke about this.
In any way, fashion?
My mother never spoke about her parents, but my grandmother, my mother's mother, lived with us until I was 12. She died.
No. You were 14. She died when I was 13.
Rebecca Sachs.
Died in Borough Park
Borough
when I was
Park.
13, so you had to be 14.
Oh, you know, he's right. I was in the Newkirk High School. He's
Okay.
right.
Well, so in other words, you two never heard either your mother or father ever talk about her parent. I mean,
My mother's-
no. About Herman, or as you knew him, Hyman and Lottie Cannonball.
That's
Never.
correct.
Never.
The
Why do you
reason
suppose that is?
we never. I don't know.
Only stories we ever heard, that I ever heard, was that my father said that in the orphan asylum, they agreed to stand on their own. They wouldn't ask any of the brothers for anything. They would stand on their own 2 feet.
Okay.
That's all I ever heard.
I never knew anything about that.
Okay. Were they angry possibly with their parents because they were put in an asylum? A
I
Hebrew
don't know.
asylum?
I couldn't tell you.
Because
I don't
the
know.
letter that I got, that Aunt Frances got, as a matter of fact, stated that they didn't know for sure whether Sigmund was even in the home. That's number one. Apparently, some of the other children were, and they were released to Samuel's care as they grew old enough.
He was the oldest.
Okay.
The story
However,
I got, Richard, was all the boys and the sister at one time, for a short period, were in the orphan asylum.
Edwin claims that Jenny was never in the office.
Well, I'm only going by what I.
well,
Uh,
she
but
being the
is
oldest sister,
I think
would
she was
say
the oldest.
she would have been
right.
pretty old at that.
She may have already gotten married because she was married at something like 16 or
16.
17.
She was married at 16. Edwin told me that.
Yeah, right.
She was married.
She was married. Wait a second.
was a
She was
very
married in
beautiful-
1902.
Can't be 1902.
I have the paper inside.
Oh, that's interesting. She was a very beautiful woman.
And they lived in Lakewood.
Gorgeous, gorgeous.
You remember
red
red
hair. Right.
You
Red
remember?
hair
Right.
and freckles.
Do you remember visiting
Beautiful,
them in Lakewood,
beautiful
Lorraine?
woman. Yes, yes,
Okay.
that I do.
Okay, now. All right.
She didn't come to my wedding, did she?
No, she never
No.
came anywhere.
No.
Sam, her husband, wouldn't travel.
Oh.
He was an antisocial kind of person.
So you don't know how religious your parents were. Well, you do know how religious
I'll
your
tell
parents
you what
were.
I think my
Were they
state.
Orthodox oriented?
No
were they
way.
conservative?
No way.
Was there such a thing as reform?
Yes, festive.
No, they were conservative.
They were conservative because we
Yes,
had
they were
ate only kosher food. All dishes were divided by meat and dairy.
Oh, you
Not
didn't.
all the time.
Not all the time, but as the years
When our
went on,
grandmother was alive, it
while
was.
remember my
That's
grandmother
when she
did.
passed
That's
away.
Lottie. You're talking about Lottie. When you
Yeah.
say your grandmother, sometimes
Rebecca,
I...
Rebecca, not
Oh,
Lottie.
Rebecca.
Yeah,
Rebecca.
they lived
Lotta
with us.
was her
Lived with
Oh,
us.
that's your grandmother on your mother's side.
Yes.
She
Right.
lived with
Rebecca
us.
Merlin?
And-
Oh, you don't know her married? Her married?
Sachs.
Sachs.
She was referred to as Rebecca
Sachs.
Sachs.
Okay, that was her married.
And we never had dairy with meat. We followed a kind of a form, and the only time my parents really went to synagogue was on High Holy Days.
Yes.
So
That
in
was
other words,
it.
they never... I mean, they were not...
We were in the wrong.
They were not orthodox.
We were
that's
not
for sure.
orthodox. We should not have been brought to Borough Park because even in those early days, we as
We lived with a
We
very
were
religious,
completely
in a two-family
wrong.
house.
in where we were because we skated on Saturday if we had a light. Somebody asked us to
In
turn
other
the
words,
light
you
in
lived
the
in a
kitchen
very
on.
orthodox area,
We lived
however
in a-
you were not.
Well, that's when my mother said to my father, if you don't move us. He used to get beat up every day. When we lived in West New York, we were called Kike.
Oh, that's
We were called
terrible.
Dirty Jew, and he got it. And so, finally, my mother had a fight with my father and said, if you don't move us to a place where he doesn't get beaten up, I'm going to leave you. No wife ever threatened to leave her husband. But that's when they moved us. They went looking, and they moved us to Borough Park, which was the beginning of orthodoxy in Borough Park. It was not like it is today. Today, you wouldn't dare to do
It's all
anything.
Hasidim. It's all Hasidim.
Now
It's all Hasidic now. But even then, we were outcasts because my mother did not wear a shayla.
Oh,
My
yeah.
father worked on Saturdays. He was made fun of by everybody on the street, but we had the biggest Buick of anybody on the block. And that Buick we had, I think, because it belonged to Jack Sachs, didn't belong to Daddy in any way.
He never.
Yeah, my uncle bought the biggest black,
He always lived
a
with us.
blue.
He always lived
Yeah,
with
we always had my uncle and my grandmother.
Oh, you did live with Jack Sachs too?
Sure,
Oh, I didn't know that. I
because-
knew you were married.
You know, we ended up being a very middle-class Jewish family. When you lived in Borough Park, we paid a lot of money for that apartment. It was a 7-room apartment with 1.5 baths, 4 kids, and 3 adults. That's a lot of people.
How long
We
ago?
had a beautiful porch with rattan furniture. We had a dining room and bedrooms. Lots of
The
bedrooms.
That was
And-
before we moved to Bronx Park East.
Before we moved to Bronx Park East. And we moved from Borough Park when my grandmother died and my mother got sick and tired. She doesn't wear a shayla, and she doesn't do this, and she doesn't do that. And we turned on lights, and what didn't we do? And Arthur and I were always fighting over one. My father believed one pair of roller skates for 3 children should be enough. So he got one skate, and I got one skate. The trick was who was going to wear them together.
Together.
He did. Not me. He.
Yeah, well,
Make
he's
no
like that
bones
all the time.
So, that was that. We did have a lot of fun as kids because, one of the things about us, we never lived in a broken down apartment. We never lived in anything but the nicest. And that was partly because Jack Saxon lived with us and shared the
Some of the
rent.
costs, yeah.
So here we are. If I wanted a coat with a fur collar, my father said, "What?"
Yeah.
Jack Sachs went out and got me a gray coat with a gray fox collar. Now I could be like all the girls on the block. That was my idea of it had to be.
All right, hold up a minute. Backtrack and go
Go
back
ahead.
on Jenny's children.
I didn't really know them that well when I was
But you
little.
know who they were.
Yes.
Well, let's take
Well,
who
do
they
you
were.
want to know about Jenny's children? Didn't he tell you all about it, Edwin?
He told me somewhere.
Herbert, Edwin,
Leon?
Leon, and
Rachel.
Rachel.
But I told you before, if you look in the family tree, there was a son in between
That we
Edwin
didn't know about.
and
he told
and
us
Rachel
about. Okay.
that was named Murray, and he indicated to me that somebody pushed the kid off a cliff or a rock, and he had head injuries, and he died of head injuries.
I wouldn't know.
But Edward never told you what his son's name was, did he?
I think we have his sons. I think
Edward's
it's on.
son?
Edwin's son?
I have to tell
Edward
you,
has a son.
Yeah, I may be
Edwin
on there,
has
right?
quite a
Could
few
be.
children.
Yeah, he does. I mailed out
He
to
did-
everybody
Yes,
their section of the family tree and requested that they fill in anything they could.
okay. You know, he did send me about 2 years ago. Now I have to go find it. He sent me something that they had written or put together, and I hate calling him because you know what happens. How long were you on the telephone with him?
Gotta be-
You can't get off.
Try.
You
It must
can't
have been
get
an
off.
hour.
Won't let you go because if you hang it up, they'll call you right back. And you have to, you know, you have to feel very sorry for him. He has glaucoma. He can't see well. Has to have someone drive him around. He's about
You mean
6
he's still
foot.
in both eyes? He has.
Yes,
He
'Cause
said
I have,
something
I
other
have
than
it.
that's what he was going in for tests for because
Yeah.
he said it
Oh,
was
I mean,
something
he must
other.
have other things
things.
as well.
Right.
And he's about 6'4", and the hair must now be white. He used to be carroty red.
Mhm.
Like
He
his mom.
graduated from law school but never practiced law.
Okay. All right. So
Also, his brother had Herbert had children, and so did Leon have children.
but that's on
They
the
were
tree.
all on there?
I think that's on the tree.
Okay.
It's just
Yeah.
there's no
Right.
dates or other
Or anything
names,
on them,
but
right,
they're
they
listed
were-
on the tree.
Yes, right.
So I showed you something today that obviously neither one of you had known until we uncovered it at the cemeteries. And that's the fella called Max.
I never knew a word about it.
Um,
Only the story about
Okay.
someone removing a ring.
all right. That's what I want to get at because in the last tape that we have, there was 100 people talking, and I never
couldn't get-
really got what the consensus of opinion was. So
I don't
that's-
know what was behind it.
Well,
but
give me your version of
what
what
do
you
you know
think
about it,
was the
Well,
version.
all I can do is guess that at some point, someone in the family died. What her name was, I don't remember or I don't know.
I am.
It could be. At any rate, in the funeral parlor, the half of the family